Mhm.
I guess I had only seen that version of it. And by that time I had seen the inside of a law firm and seen lawyers, and I I honestly just stumbled into it. I didn't think it through enough.
Welcome to the Texas Lawyer Podcast, where we share stories from those who choose to practice law in the great state of Texas. I'm your host, Cheryl McGirr, and today we're sitting down with a lawyer who went from work as a public defender to an integral role with the Judicial Commission on Mental Health. Today we're talking with Kama Harris. Thanks for joining us today, Kama.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and your life before practicing law.
Sure. About myself, I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I went to the University of Texas for my undergraduate degree. I graduated with a degree in finance in 2008. So there was not much for me to do there, and so I decided that I really liked logic puzzles, and I was going to take the LSAT.
All right.
So I took the LSAT and got a good enough score to get a full ride to law school, and so that is what I did.
So were there people or influences in your life that made you choose law school over another path?
No, I didn't really know any lawyers. I realized in my last year of business school that I really enjoyed studying law. We had a business law class, and that professor practiced the Socratic method and kind of did everything like a law school class would be. And I just found it really enjoyable. And she connected me with an internship with some great lawyers in Austin. And so I kind of stumbled my way into going to law school.
Was there a particular goal that you had when you decided, yeah, law school's what I'm going to do, and this is why? What was your why? Because it's not easy.
It's not easy. I didn't quite know it would not be as easy as it was not. I didn't know it would be that hard, really. I didn't love finance, but it all, undergrad had come pretty easily to me. And so I was like, let's just try something else. I thought I would just do corporate law, maybe mergers and acquisitions. Like my finance background was not too difficult. And so I thought, we'll just slip right in there. I did have a minor in psychology, just kind of as more of a passion project than anything. But once I got into law school, that all kind of switched.
Okay. Did you feel like law school was going to lead you in a better path than looking for a job in the field after graduation?
I thought so. My father and his father both did finance and were kind of had their own company at one point, and it really was just not my cup of tea. Mm-hmm. I guess I had only seen that version of it, and by that time I had seen the inside of a law firm and seen lawyers, and I honestly just stumbled into it. I didn't think it through enough.
Did you have any attorneys in that internship that were encouraging you to consider law school or discouraging you? What kind of advice did you get?
Well, Beth Ann Eccles still practices law in Austin, and she was one of the attorneys that was there. She let me sit in on a lot of her consultations. She did estate planning. So I learned a lot about probate and kind of intestate succession, and I thought that was all pretty cool. I did some legal research and a lot of filing. But really, I was just filing in the corner of her office, but you get to like see the goings on of that office all day. And so I got to talk with her a lot. She wrote me a letter of recommendation. And the person who had the legal assistant job in the firm that I was interning at went to law school at Texas Tech. And so I kind of was like a year behind her and got to almost follow in her footsteps. She kind of led the path.
Great. And so is that where you went, Texas Tech?
I did. Yes.
So tell us about when you had made the commitment to practice law, because it is a commitment that we make. When was it, and I'm going to guess based on what you told me that it was probably during law school, when did it hit you that like, this is what the practice of law is going to, what it's going to be, and this is what I want to do? Was there a
Um,
particular class or professor that you were like, yeah, this is the right path?
it hit me, this is what it's going to be, when I had to get glasses. When I was reading 300 pages a night for classes and really buckled down, it became something I wanted to do. Actually, I wrote on to the law review, and we got to use our blue book, which mine's just right on my desk still. And it was just like a puzzle. All the different pieces of legal writing kind of fit together in my head, and it was fun again. It was fun to do work again.
Yeah.
And so getting into law school, getting onto law review and making those connections, but also getting to spend 12 hours in the library and just like lose when you just lose track of time. I
Yeah.
used to do that as a kid when I would play, and it wasn't until law school and doing law review work that I got to do that again.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that. I had a business law class and I spent some time in law school. And this is, granted, 30 years ago. But so we were still using books for legal research and we had got sent, and I lost myself in the law library,
Mhm.
just reading cases. Like I found the case I was supposed to, but then I saw the next case and started reading it and was just captivated. And before I knew it, they were closing the library. And I kind of had that same,
Mhm.
wow, this is really interesting. And it's been a long time since I've been so focused on something that I didn't notice the passage of time. So that's
Exactly.
really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were your early challenges as you stepped into, you got the diploma, you've got the job now? You had mentioned to me prior to the interview that it was with the public defender's office. Can you elaborate a little bit on where you began and how that framed your view of the practice of law?
Yeah, I needed an internship after my 1L year. And so I did a split summer. I did a half a summer with a judge in Dallas County. And then my law school had a placement program where you could just sign up for internships and they would place you. So I got placed at the regional public defender for capital cases. And my first day as an intern, I went to see Fort Dyer in a capital murder trial in Canyon, Texas. And once you do that, you're never going to go back and read those contracts again. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. It was just so interesting, and the people were all so passionate, and really getting to see the importance of having a public defender, having defense at all in the way our criminal justice system works. It really inspired me, and I kind of dove right into all those classes. And so I had other internships, but I stayed part of the regional public defender for capital cases, volunteering all 3 years. And right as I graduated, they were opening an office in the Central Texas area. So it was in Burnett County. And so I applied and just went right into getting paid for doing kind of what I was doing in law school.
Yeah, that's great. So what were some of the challenges that you faced as you stepped into that role?
I tend to be pretty introverted. And so I find it challenging to, I guess, even just stand up in a courtroom and argue for something. It's easier when you're arguing for someone else, but I hated the part, where you have to go into the room and you're like, okay, I know my client is here somewhere. Let me yell their name. Obviously not with capital, but with other cases, I just was like shy. Like I didn't want to yell somebody's name across a courtroom. And so having to overcome those issues was difficult for me.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever work on the prosecution side, or was all your work in criminal law on the public defender side or the defense side?
It was always on the defense side.
Yeah. So, what were some of the wins that you had early on that kind of confirmed to you, yep, this is the right road, the right path?
Yeah, in defense work, wins can be different than they would look on a different side. Mm-hmm. So, this can get into the controversial topic of the death penalty and should we have it at all, the pros, the cons, the legal procedures. Like if we can't legally, is it a process that is always correct every time? Like having those debates is a lot. And I don't want to get into that necessarily, but I got to know these humans for more than just the worst day of their life and the worst thing they've ever done. And so getting an agreement for life without the possibility of parole rather than the death penalty actually became a win in some instances, right? The fact that someone is allowed to live, although in prison for their life, they are human and they are, what do I say? A human. And so a win looks different in that case versus other cases we've had. We've had felony cases or misdemeanor cases where the person didn't do it, and we could actually show that and either get an acquittal or get a dismissal from the prosecutor and really change the course of that person's life completely. Or even just a diversion sometimes can set somebody on the right track again. And to see somebody's life adjust just slightly by the work that you've done, but in a better direction is really fulfilling.
Yeah, I think you and I had done some work defending a lot of misdemeanors at one time, and I think it's fair to say we had a lot of younger clients, and so I found a lot of joy in being able to speak into someone's life who's trying to figure it out. And maybe they've not made the best decision so far, but how can we help them slightly just adjust course and make better choices going forward? And sometimes we made an impact, sometimes we didn't, but the fact that there was an opportunity was meaningful for me to be able to have the opportunity to do that. It's like that. Yes, I'm going to zealously defend them and do everything I can as a lawyer, but as a human, I want to try to give them some advice, some possibilities that maybe they've not thought about before in their lives. And so I think you felt the same way in practicing that. But at some point you moved into on the path to the role you're in now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I did mostly public defense until I came to work with your law firm, and that's where I learned some family law and how difficult family law cases can be. It's funny when the felonies seem easier than the family law cases, but I knew that I wanted to start a family, and so we were kind of lowering my stress level from capital cases and felony cases to misdemeanors, and transitioning to policy. It came naturally, I guess. It allowed me to think more systemically about the issues that we're encountering on a day-to-day basis in the courtroom. So you see that person come in and out of your client, your docket, and you're like, I thought we were on the right track, but I'm not making a difference, or I can't make a difference in this county because there is no solution for my client that will work. So to step back and see it as a system, that small adjustments on policy levels, on a statewide level, can have more profound impact than I could have on my one client or my 50 clients.
Mm-hmm. And so what are some wins you feel like you've had at this level?
Yeah, so one of my projects is I help write our Benchbook, which is this 300-page book on all of the mental health laws in Texas. So mental health laws are spread out over a bunch of different codes. And my organization has taken all those codes and put them into one book. So you have the family code and you have the criminal code all in one place. But then we have this book that goes through each of those laws and talks about what they do, how procedurally they work, how they might work differently in different counties. And so it has been really great to explore this type of law, but I found that I really love like legal procedures, like the procedural way policies work. And so like, for example, this is one of my charts that I've made. So this walks you through one of the laws in Texas, just one law, and all of the forms that are associated with it, and all of the different, you saw a bunch of different colors. That's a different person who touches on that form in a different stage of this law. And so that is all mapped out here. If you get the PDF, you can just click on it and it'll open the form. But it, in some counties, has really streamlined their ability to use this process just through like the way my brain, I think, in picture form, and it has helped some counties. And so I consider that a win.
Yeah, I think that's a big win. And so that's a resource that now our judiciary has access to and can help the judge guide some of the litigants that have mental health issues.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. What a cool thing to be doing right now.
Yeah.
And I think that mental health is a challenge in everyday life of almost every lawyer I know. We deal with clients who have mental health issues, and wanting to help them in the best way possible sometimes takes sometimes it requires stepping back and taking a new perspective on it, having a new perspective on the best possible route for that person to have a successful outcome.
Exactly.
So, well, what advice would you give someone who is interested possibly in becoming an attorney?
This is a hard question for me. I love what I do right now. I feel like I have the best job in the world because I get to think about the law, but I don't have 6-minute billable hours and I don't have the revolving door of clients, and I'm not chasing down clients in order to keep the lights on. And so it's quite the juxtaposition of like, I really enjoy what I do now. I'm not sure I would have lasted a lifetime in the role of a typical lawyer. And I think that is okay. There are so many different paths when you are wanting to be a lawyer. I would suggest looking at those different paths before diving into going to law school. Don't go on a whim. It's not easy. But then again, sometimes I look back at like the work we were doing, and I was a new mom and staying up, and we were prepping for trial all the time, and I'm like, well, law school seemed pretty easy compared to that. It's just your perspective changes. But I think I wish I would have known all the different ways I could have done law, had a legal career. I may have been more fulfilled earlier in my life.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I always tell the story about when I was thinking about law school, frankly, stopping every lawyer that I met. I was working in the travel industry and I met a lot of lawyers traveling. And I was asked every one of them, what do you like about being a lawyer? What do you do as a lawyer? Would you recommend it as a lawyer? And some people didn't want to, were kind of done being a lawyer, but they were transitioning into something else. And they're like, listen, it's a great education and the practice of law is great, but it is hard. But there are a lot of other things you can do with a law degree. But it is definitely hard. This is not an easy path to walk. There's a lot of responsibility in representing someone, whether it's a civil case that's just involving money. You say it's just money, but
Just money,
that's someone's life.
Exactly.
And or actually defending someone from, trying to defend their liberty or their life. Those are very hefty and weighty roles that we play and necessary to our society. And I was so sad when you decided to move on from our firm and go where you are now. But I've seen such light and joy in your life since that it makes me just be so happy for you. But also, the things you do now are informed by all the things you did along the way.
100%.
And so it's really, it's important to remember that the journey matters. It's not just the destination. It is the journey. It will speak into what you get at the destination.
Yes,
So
completely. I think a lot of the discussions I have with experts across the state, across the country, I do reflect back on some of our toughest cases and like, what would have happened to that person if this law or this policy would have been different? Or did the system really work for that person? It's 100% the journey. If I just come here at a law school, it would not at all be the same.
Yeah, you wouldn't have that same perspective. Yeah, we learn, you're clearly an active learner. You seek out learning, you love to learn, but you also learn by osmosis. You pick up as you're going through, and I think everyone does that to some extent. You put yourself in environments and you learn as you go from the people around you and the challenges that you face and how you choose to tackle those challenges. Well, I'm so grateful that you were here with us today, Kama. I thank you for being here. And with that, the Texas Lawyer Podcast is adjourned for today. What's your biggest takeaway? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to leave a review or a like and subscribe and share us with your friends.